guys, welcome back to the Speak of the Madman podcast, number 5. I'm your host, Joshua, and co-host, Joey. So, it's been a little bit, but we are back. Joey, what have you been up to? But most importantly, what have you been listening to since we last spoke?
Well, I really wanted to touch bases on a band that I've always respected, truly. And I think most of the metal community, in my opinion, seems like they respect a whole... I've never heard anybody talk bad about this band, ever. Seems like they've been respected throughout most of their career, at least when they started becoming known. And that's Pantera. Now, Pantera, I don't know if much people know about this, but Cowboys from Hell is not their first album.
Mm-hmm.
At first, that was their technically their 5th album. They put out 4 glam metal albums, but I think they kind of gradually started getting more heavier as the glam stuff, but still pretty glam, in 80 standards. But they started as a glam band, and I believe they were managed by Dimebag's dad, or Dimebag and his brother's dad, who was a country singer. So that's the thing. How great is that? You grow up, your dad's a country singer, so right off the bat, you're already going to be well embracing the music. You know about music. You've been listening out. So their dad gave them a great head start. And, they were listening to Van Halen and stuff like that, and very influenced by Kiss. So they started the band, and they started doing glam. And I think that he was also managing the dad as well. And they had a singer before Phil, right? I think his name was Terry Glaze or something like that. And he was a glam guy. And they were the full on spandex. As a matter of fact, Dimebag, I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but Dimebag was not Dimebag back in these days. He was Diamond Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I heard, I've heard this back in the 90s. The reason why they call him Diamond Daryl is because he used to wear diamond glasses. Right? So that was part of his image. So they called him Diamond Daryl. And that's kind of like how I remember him, as Diamond Daryl. This Dimebag thing didn't come to later. So they put out these 4 albums, and I guess maybe they weren't really making headway. They were kind of touring in their local area because they're from Dallas, I believe, Texas. And so they're touring Louisiana. I think they're doing Oklahoma, around that region.
This was the time of glam. So it was like Poison, L.A. Guns,
Don't forget Warrant.
White Snake. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess White Snake's more of a rock band, though, isn't it? That thing?
I believe so,
White
but
Snake.
Hair metal bands. I mean, I guess Skid Row, another great band, but yeah, Skid Row could be classified as a glam band.
Yeah, Rat,
Yes, Rat,
that type of stuff. Rat, Motley Crue, but Motley Crue is more heavy. But they were definitely the same type of glam image, wearing the makeup, the spandex.
So this was late 80s, and this was late 80s, very early 90s, and as we know, what killed glam and essentially what kind of killed metal was the movement that followed was grunge. But going back to the hair metal, glam days, late 80s, obviously you were rocking and rolling around. Where were you? What age was this for you?
Oh, what 90 was 12 years old. See, at 12 years old, you know what I mean? But my dad was Ozzy Osbourne fanatic, Black Sabbath. So, I mean, I was listening to all that stuff. My aunts were listening to all kinds of music, you know what I mean? So I was really doused. I was just completely loaded with music, when I was a young kid. But anyways, besides the point, yeah, I'm 12 years old about this when I first heard of Pantera. I heard of actually I heard Vulgar first. Vulgar came out, and I was like, who the heck is this crazy this crazy white guy, you know what I mean? He's got all these tattoos, and he had this voice, and I just thought it was like the coolest sound. You
Very,
know,
very unique sound from Phil
it was just
Anselmo.
like a unique sound. But it wasn't until like recently, like I don't know, like maybe like 5 years ago, I started reading about their early stuff. You know, the stuff that they kind of ignored, and then they kind of just wanted to forget about, which was their glam days. I think Rex Brown was going by Rex Rocker back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Diamond Daryl. So, anyways, I think what happened was what I read. It was Metallica came out, Puppets. Of course, they're following their career at that time. Slayer, Rain and Blood, that came out the same
Megadeth.
year.
Yeah.
Megadeth, Peace Cells. So I think what happened. I think this really influenced Pantera, and you can hear it in their music. You know what I mean? I mean, the evidence, it's self-evident. It's right there. You know, you listen to Cowboys from Hell, as I was listening to earlier, and I can hear Randy Rhoads. I can hear Metallica. You can hear, Dimebag. Say Diamond. I'm so used to saying Diamond Daryl. Dimebag. You can hear the heavy downstroking on the guitar so prevalent. Glam. They're not doing it as heavy and he's doing a lot more of that. But Cowboys, as they started to transform by being influenced with those albums, they started playing heavier, and they're trying to still find their sound. I mean, Cowboys, you can still hear a lot of the glam because you hear Phil doing all that vibrato and the screaming, the high pitched screaming and stuff like that probably a lot of people make fun of, these days now. Well, at least not metalheads, you know what I mean, but like the general population. That he's doing a lot of that, but he's singing more grunt. He's more aggressively. So you can hear him like transforming. And then Vulgar comes out, and then he like pretty much tosses away the vibrato stuff, the high pitched. And here we are with the birth of what a lot of people want to say the debut album of Pantera. So,
which Cowboys from Hell, right?
Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah, Cowboys from Hell.
How many videos did they put out? What's that?
I was the Cowboys from Hell is technically released July 24th, 1990. So we're coming up here on the anniversary of it here in a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's been a long time, and that was a great time for music, in my opinion. It was just about ready to just have all kinds of. I feel like this era is like a time for rap and hip hop. It's so prevalent now. You don't even see string instruments anymore in mainstream music anywhere. You watch the Super Bowls. Do they even have a band anymore? It's like back in 1990, it was a lot more mainstream. You had alternative music. I mean, you had string instruments. So anyways,
only
they came out with.
A couple years later, yeah. We had cultural influence, counterculture stuff like Beavis and Butthead come out, Headbangers Ball, Ricky Rackman, leading the charge. But yeah, this was kind of some of the last sales of metal.
Yeah, Headbangers Ball. I mean, come on, they would never have that these days now. Headbangers Ball was huge back then. It was like I was like 12-year-old kid. I would just stay up till night, just waiting for it to come on. I could not believe it was so cool. Hearing that the music and the opening, and then just music that I listened to on my own. Now it's being presented. I felt represented. I feel a lack of representation these days. Me being a metal guy, but certainly it felt represented back then. And so Pantera was there, and they were just very impressionable. And a lot of when I was in junior high, a lot of people listened to them, and they came out with Cemetery Gates, which was blowing me away with their versatility.
That's one of my favorite songs. One of my favorite songs.
Especially at the end of that video where he's screaming, and then Dimebag is matching him with a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's just what a great idea, you know. Yeah, one of the best songs they've ever wrote, and then Vulgar comes out, and
Probably
then
top 25 for me. Could be even possibly top 10 favorite songs.
it's
I generally love that song because it's it's Pantera, but not in the sense of like Diamond going crazy, Dimebag going crazy, or Phil screaming. It's cohesive in a very weird sense because it's not the Pantera that people think. What's obviously with Cowboys from Hell and Art of Shredding. It has like a very mellow introduction into the beginning, and then it just peaks with just great performance by both.
yeah. Well, like I was saying, it shows you the wide range and diversity that that they were able to do. I mean, that's how talented they were. They were giving you a
Mm-hmm.
different look. And the other thing about Pantera is how tight these guys are, man. Like I guess when you have your brother playing drums for you, if you're Dimebag, I mean, of course, you hang out with him all day, all the time. Their rhythms are so on point with the drums, and they're so tight. I mean, they match Metallica. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would even probably say that they were tighter than live than Metallica was, because Metallica would screw up too. They would maybe because of alcohol, but they would screw up. But Pantera, I mean, try to find me somebody who's seen a Pantera live show and said that they didn't play well. Even my girlfriend saw Pantera back in the day, and she's not a fan, and she said, I don't know their music, but they sounded really on point. They sounded when you listen to Pantera, you hear them, you're like, this is what world class sounds like. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? I mean, the timing is just immaculate. I mean, within like tenths of a second, on point, and that's what you can really appreciate about the band. And when you play so well, and the timing so well, it comes together, and that's what makes it sound world class. So, yeah, so they came out with those albums, and the Walk, when they did the video for Walk, dun dun dun, dun, it was just like, God, how many people didn't blast that back in the '90s in their truck? I mean, it's just a great way to get out aggression, and it also shows you that song is Dimebag took a rhythm. It was just like nothing, like da 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 da, and just kept repeating it. Right? It's not much on paper.
And now we're talking about obviously vulgar display of power.
Vulgar, right? We're in Vulgar, and he's
Yes, sir.
playing da 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 da. Da. I mean, he's doing like two chords. You know what I mean? And
Yes, sir.
it's like he shows you that you don't have to play a lot of notes or do a lot of things. You can sound rad just by being on time, having a great tone on the guitar, and having this nice, loud, just in your face, rhythm. You know what I mean? And it's so simplistic, but it just shows you like, the idea about that was just, it's excellent. It's an excellent idea. You don't have to do much. You don't have to play a lot of chords or a lot of notes. You just have to get it done right.
Well,
And
I would say that the song, as you were saying on Dime's part, but just as equally matched is Phil's voice, his range.
yeah, his
That very
range.
that gruff voice he has, a very unique voice, one of my favorite voices ever. Uh, Man, that if that song is a fight song, you put that on, you're ready for a fight. I I wouldn't imagine. I can't imagine there wasn't a football team that didn't play that before the football game.
No, no. And to imagine, and to think that when they were trying, when they came out, when they had Phil, they were before they came out Cowboy, they couldn't even find a label. I was reading, they couldn't even find anybody. I mean, labels didn't know a great band when they hit them on their head.
Hmm.
Back then, and they couldn't find a label, which is pretty amazing to me. Anyhow, they put out Vulgar, and then I guess they started touring, and then wasn't like till 95, and they started having that whole singer thing. You know, what I mean, they started having issues with the singer, which probably happens to a lot of bands. You know, they like Guns N' Roses. You know, what I mean, they have to deal with the lead singer's, you know, issues and attitudes and personalities and stuff like that. And Pantera is no exception. They had to deal with Phil. Supposedly, he said his back was hurting or something like that. So instead of like taking time off and getting his back done, he decided that heroin would be a good idea to get into. And, that pretty much ruined Pantera, the
Yeah, but
drugs.
not to ruin other legacy, because man, what a great staple of music they are. Here in 2022, here citing Wikipedia, so take that for what it's worth. Guitar World ranked Vulgar Display of Power #1 on their list of 30 greatest rock guitar albums of '92. So
Guitar albums.
19 new guitar albums. But following that, in 2017, Rolling Stone ranked Vulgar as 10th on their list of 100 greatest metal albums of all time. And yeah,
who's going to argue with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's going to argue with it? And you got to remember it too. You got to take into account there was no internet back then. You couldn't go on YouTube and get ideas like you can. You can just get ideas galore everywhere, globally, everywhere. Like these kids now. You could be 8 years old now and shred. But that's because you don't even need to go to a guitar teacher. You can just shred, living in, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Did I pronounce that right? I can't. But you don't. With the internet now, it's sky's the limit. But back then it was a little harder to understand how to play guitar and learn how to play guitar. You had to go out your way. You had to go find a place to go learn how to play guitar. You had to do all those things. So they did all this stuff at that time, which to me is different, And so, and they, Vulgar. I mean, who's going to argue, that that's one of the top 10? What did you say? Top 10 metal albums? Who said that? Who rated that? Magazine or what's it?
Rolling Stone ranked Vulgar as 10th on their list of 100 greatest metal albums of all time. And speaking of that, it's their iconic logo, their iconic album cover of that guy getting punched in the face.
Yeah, somebody has some poor soul.
Well, it's that album cover itself tells you what you're in for. You're buying it. You're going to listen to it. It's going to feel like you're getting punched in the face.
It's just right off the bat, it's trying to tell you what you're getting into, right? It's like the thesis of the whole thing, right? It's get ready. This is what it's about. This is a hard hitting, thing that's what's supposed to be, is a hard hitting album. But it's like the finesse of the band.
I'll say it right now with confidence. I think Pantera the sound, Pantera the name. I've always loved that name. I think it was very cool, very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Album name. It's up there with all around great albums in every category.
Yeah, and again, what metalhead is going to argue with you? I mean, I've never heard any metal guy speak bad about Pantera. They've been immune to any type of negative criticism, I think, and rightfully so. I mean, rightfully so. I mean, they are, especially Dime, the musician's musician. He is the epitome of what a rock musician should be like. And it's cool. Like guys who hung out with him, they said that he drank and he always offered you alcohol and stuff like that. And even if you didn't drink, he would give you liquor. And even if you didn't drink, you got to do it, right? I mean, if you don't drink and if you're torn with Pantera and he gives you some liquor, you're drinking. You know what I mean? That's just the way it's Dimebag. You know what I mean? Dimebag is trying to bond with you. Huh?
Well, I just remembered a story that you told me when we first started talking, that you met Dimebag.
I met Dimebag at NAMM. I think it was probably sometime in '94 or something like that. At NAMM in Anaheim, and there was a lot of people there, and Dime was there, and I wasn't gonna let that pass that opportunity up. Got in line, Took pictures with him.
94. 94.
94.
This
I
was
even have
at the
pictures
heights.
at
This is
their
at the
height,
height. At their
and
height.
you know how like in senior year you get to buy a picture, a page. You know, you can buy. Me and my buddy Justin bought a page, and I put in one of the collages we put together, and there's a picture of me and Dimebag. And
Do
Dimebag's got a
you
pencil.
still have that?
It's in the yearbook. Yeah, I have the yearbook. And the Dimebag is in there, and he's got a pencil or pen. I think it's a pen, and he's pretending like he's gonna stab it in my head during the picture. And he signed a poster, which I still had. I don't have it anymore. He signed a poster of him playing guitar, and it was like he's one of the baddest MFs I've ever met, man. I mean, Dime was just like, wow. As a guitar player, he still is, man. You know, I've met a couple guys through the years, you know, but he's one that really takes the cake. You know,
I remember you telling me that story when we were sitting there waiting for our class to start here at UCLA, and I was enamored. Like, man, that is really rad. First off,
I met Dime,
because given that he's no longer with us, been a good couple while now, but given that you met this legend at the height, nonetheless, of Pantera.
Yeah, at their height, they were just on top of the world at that point, and yeah, I mean, I really had the opportunity and I took it. You know, that's one. I definitely didn't want that regret. You know what I mean? I met him and yeah. So there's that. You know, but they kept on playing, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about him passing away, but I mean, who thinks about like you're going to be playing a show with a damage plan, because of the whole, they broke up and, they had to continue and all that stuff like that. And who would think that you're performing in front of like people, a couple hundred people probably, right? I mean, the band is doing you a favor by playing. They're coming out to your town. They're playing a show for you. It doesn't get any more intimate than that, and something like that happens, you know what I mean? To me, it's just one of the most heartbreaking things because it's so personal, for them to come down there and play, and then they're traveling in their van and especially being a musician, it hits home.
I'll tell you one thing that just to get off this topic real fast, because I remember watching it on TV, breaking news. I remember hearing Kurt Loder talk on MTV about it, and like I'm like, oh, like that's where I got my news. There was no YouTube back then. Internet, even here in 2004, wasn't as the internet that we have now. I remember watching MTV and message boards, not necessarily internet, but message boards. And yep, Kurt Loder, MTV talking about it, and it was very heartbreaking.
I remember that. I remember coming home from the gym and hearing about that. And you know what? Through the years, there's a couple celebrities that really hit me hard. And gosh, I'll tell you, he's one of them. That one hit because I was I really like their music a lot. I personally met him. I was a fan, but I personally met him, and it felt and to see him pass in the manner that he passed away.
Yeah.
That was quite unbelievable. One of these days, I want to go visit where he's at. I believe in the Arlington cemetery down
that's
there.
where he's from. Yep, Arlington, Texas.
And he was another funny thing is that I don't know how many people know about it, but he wanted to use Van Halen. Van Halen is like his hero, and he wanted to use one of the guitar, the Bumblebee guitar, like the yellow and black one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was going to get like a replica or something. I forgot why he wanted to use it. I'm sure some people out there will know exactly why, but he wanted, I guess he was going to give him a replica or something like that. And then when he passed away, Eddie Van Halen himself brought the original guitar that he recorded, I think in Van Halen 2, and put it in his coffin. I mean, dude, how rock and roll is that, And
well, then as you said earlier, he is a musician.
Every musician respect. Eddie Van Halen respected his guitar playing. You know what I mean? Because he was like, he knew he was. He knew he was highly talented. He probably I don't know if he listened to Pantera or not, if he was a fan or not. Maybe he was. I don't know. But he respected him, and he gave him the guitar, and then he was buried in a Kiss casket.
Yeah, that because on his legendary blue with Lightning, I forgot the name, but his blue guitar, the Lightning one, it has a Kiss sticker of, I think, his Destiny logo of Kiss.
Yeah, that I seen that guitar. It was at NAMM one time. The Kiss guitar, the one, the blue one, that's the one he used mostly. And I think his family has it over. His family has that guitar, but he played a lot of guitars, But no, he's buried with Eddie Van Halen's Van Halen too. So I'm sure wherever he's at, he's happy about that.
That was Dean Guitars. Dean Guitars is the guitar he rips for, and he has his own collection of it, which I think is very rad.
God, I don't even know who else plays Dean. I mean, I think he was pretty much the only person I know who plays Dean guitars, and he is Dean Guitars. I mean, yeah, and he just made Dean Guitars look cool, and just yeah. He's one of. I mean, he is up there with me, man. He's always will be. So yeah, so there's him, and then I don't know if you want to add anything more on Pantera, but I just had to talk about Pantera because they are just one of those bands. I can't have speak of the Madmen podcast without taking time, dedicating some time to Pantera.
Absolutely, Pantera is one of my top favorite bands ever. I had a kick, just like any person that loves music. You have these kicks. I can tell you one thing. My senior year in high school, I was on the Pantera kick. Well, I have no idea why, but I had a couple of Pantera shirts, which I wish I still had to this day. I wish I did, but I don't. Yeah, I was Pantera. I listened to the album cover to cover over and over on my iPod. So
yeah, those T-shirts. If anybody, I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but on eBay, if you got those '90s Pantera T-shirts, you can get some of those are a couple $100. Believe it. Maybe not as much as it was during the pandemic, but you'd be surprised at what you can get for your smelly, holy, holes, dirty, T-shirt that's been used and washed 20 million times. People will actually pay you, some of them, a couple $100 for those '90s, and the metal ones are more valuable than the punk ones. The metal ones,
man,
the Pantera,
tour shirts,
tour stuff. People, I guess I don't know if they frame them or something like that, or they're obviously out of print. But people will. I thought as a Gen Xer, I thought it was kind of crazy. They want my sweaty, holes and all that stained T-shirt. But people will buy them. I sold a couple myself.
So, speaking on this cool conversation, that I didn't plan on speaking about this, but I like this topic of very, very. Do you have did you ever have one of your most favorite tour shirts you ever had?
Well, I mean, back in those days, when I was 12, 13, I couldn't afford to buy a lot of band T-shirts. My mom bought me like a couple Metallica ones. I wish I still had them. They'd be worth a lot. I had the Justice for All one. With I think it's called the Harvester Sorrow T-shirt, and I had that one. But they were hard to come by because they were expensive. You had to go to Hollywood to buy them. I remember they were like $20. Now you can just find them anywhere. Yep. But it was hard to come by. And then later on, as I got older, I was able to get more money, and then I started getting more into punk music, and I bought a lot of punk bands. I've sold a lot of Lagwagon T-shirts for some people like to buy those from the '90s, and they even buy scalper metal shirts. The ones that are like poor quality, crappy looking. People will buy the scalper T-shirts.
I bought a scalper. I got a scalper when I went. It was 2009, 2009. I went to a
Uh-huh.
No Doubt concert, and I was like sad that I didn't find a shirt because they didn't have my size, or I don't know what was the reason why I didn't buy it. And we're leaving the parking lot, and I saw a guy shelling out T-shirts, and he was selling them for $10. And my girlfriend at the time, or ex-girlfriend now, but like she wanted a shirt too, so I'm like, all right, here's $20. Give me two shirts of these very weird scalperized, No Doubt tour shirts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think those might be worth anything because they're 2009. But if you have stuff from the 90s scalpers,
Mm-hmm.
like those, bootleg shirts, people will buy the bootlegs. I mean, you would be surprised right now. You go in your closet, you can sell your clothes, you can sell your old shoes. If you got skate shoes, people will buy your old skate shoes. You'd be surprised on what type of gems that are sitting in your closet you think are just ready to throw away. Do not throw them away. You might even be able to sell your
Nope.
boxes. Like even like if
And
you have old iPhone boxes, you can sell those online.
So remember, and any millennial out there, if you still have your members only jacket, it could be worth it.
Members only. So, anyways, I think that's
well, I was just gonna say that there's only one shirt, one real tour shirt, just to end this part of the funny conversation.
Yeah.
I have my first hymn concert I went to, and I bought a tour shirt from the House of Blues, the tour in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite shirt. I have it. It's locked away, and yeah, it's my favorite shirt. My favorite tour shirt.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Locked away? Not going to wear it or what?
Well, I wore it many times. I just it's retired.
It's been retired.
It's been retired.
Yeah, so I'm glad we talked about that. And then and I was talking to you earlier. Yesterday, I went down to Hollywood Hills Cemetery because I like to see because Ronnie James Dio is there. You got Ronnie James Dio that's there. You got Lemmy, Motorhead's there. I wanted to see what type of setup they had, because in the family, sometimes the families will go all out. Get some crazy expensive, mausoleum, thing. And so Ronnie, he's got this nice tomb that he's in. It's just, they really did a good job. They really did a good job with him. And then Lemmy, I think he's cremated, so he doesn't have, he's like in the small little area of the mausoleum and such. So he's there. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. And we were also talking earlier because I've been to the also. It's been a couple of years, but I went to the Glendale one where Michael Jackson's at, and it's private. You can't even go in there, right? And I was like, he's a public figure, man. I can understand that the family wants something private. They go in there like someplace they can call their own. They don't have to worry about the public, but at least have a designated public area somewhere because I think the public should be able to see him. But no, it's not like that. It's like sectioned off and can't go. But then again, like you were mentioning earlier, maybe the cemetery doesn't want to. It creates a lot of problems for the cemetery. And
yeah,
he's been sort of a controversial figure as well, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So that could be also the reason. But I wonder what the family's reason behind it. Is just because they don't want to deal with the public, or is it because of? But yeah, he's private. And also, Humphrey Bogart, there's a whole area where he's private too. You can't go. You have to have a key to get into the door, and he's like in this little quad area. You have to open the door with the key and go in there, and he's in there.
My question is, what's the requirements? How famous do you have to be? Like, how much money do you have to shell out to be in one of these fancy cemetery sites?
Well, it depends. Because, I mean, when you think about this. You got all the bells and you want all the bells and whistles. You want there's everything. I mean, you'd probably be like from the transportation of the body to what type of car they use to transfer you. Probably the actual lowering of the casket. They probably charge for that. I mean, they charge for every little thing. So when you say like you're talking about all kinds of things that come into play. It finally comes to that one sum. I would think probably just the burial alone is probably anywhere from like $8,000 and like up. You know what I mean? Just
No, but
base
this is
something
a
basic.
these are like cemeteries in the Hollywood Hills. They're property, so I presume they're treated as property.
Yeah.
Like you're buying a piece of land. I read somewhere that Hugh Hefner shilled out a lot of money to make sure that he was going to be buried next to Marilyn Monroe. I
Yeah.
heard this. I'm not sure if it was true, but I heard
All
that.
that stuff. Yeah. So is that what happened? He paid a lot of money to be
I
like. Is he like? I think is he on the top or? I know he's at the Pierce Brothers on Wilshire, I think, over in Westwood, because I've been there too, and I know
Yeah,
he's there, but
for our future viewers, you have a very weird pastime of going to cemeteries
for
in a
me,
funny way. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
well, I live by a cemetery, so at first when I moved here, I was like, it was kind of weird. Thank God I'm like 4 houses down, not 3. And then there was a lot of times where your curiosity, I want to see who's there. You know what I mean? I always kind of looked at it as like
So
I'm
it's peaceful
curious.
to
At least
you.
I care. You know what I mean? At least I care. I want to
Yeah.
know who this person was. I want to know. I'll pay my respects. As a matter of fact, we like yesterday, my girlfriend, we bought flowers and we placed it on. We only had like 10 of them. You know what I mean? But we placed it on a couple of people, and I even saw John Ritter's grave. And
Hmm.
put one on there. So, try to be as respectful as possible. But it's because, I don't know, I kind of care. I care about like where they're at and what they did and just to come and visit. So I think
You
it's a,
told me, yeah, you told me that you ran into another cultural hero of mine, Rich Piana, 5% YouTube
yeah.
fitness YouTuber
Oh yeah,
extraordinaire.
highly influential guy, you know what I mean, from YouTube. I watch a lot of his stuff. I like his attitude. He's a good dude. It's too bad I didn't get to meet him, but I watch
Yeah.
his channel all the time, and he's there, and he's like he's in this area called Murmury Tree. I think it's called Murmury Trees or something like that. And it's kind of like he's kind of next to like Brittany Murphy. He's buried over there, so I could probably do a whole nother podcast just on that. But just because it's there's a lot of information there. But yeah, he's there, and he's a bodybuilder, and like you said, you met him. We were
I
talking
have
about it
met him.
earlier. You got to meet him,
Yes,
and
sir.
he's a big figure. He's a
Yeah.
huge. I mean, his arms were like the size of people's, like twice the size of people's thighs.
Yeah, I
He was
mean, just
huge.
like yeah, he was huge. Yeah, he was covered in a couple of controversies, but he was very excellent what he did on YouTube. He didn't hide the truth and was very open what he did. So I think that's why he spoke to a lot of people like myself, who at that time we're talking about early YouTube days of fitness, 2013, 14. I think he was one of the first fitness YouTubers to hit 1 million subscribers.
Was he really?
One of the fitness YouTubers, and this
Wow.
was a time that it was like mostly prank stuff, prank YouTubers that were making YouTube go up. So he basically
Paved the
set the
way.
pavement. He paved the way for many people in the fitness game to up their production and not just what they're talking about, but their production and camera work and just basically leading all on the line. So yeah,
Yeah,
Rich has my respect.
he just went all. Wasn't his company called? What's his company called? 5%
It was
or something like that.
5% nutrition, five
Yeah.
percenters. Yeah,
Did he? It had a meme. Yeah, 5% of people that are willing to do what they want to do, or like they're willing to go all out, or something like that.
basically, yeah. He said 95% of the people give up of the stuff they want to do, and only 5% of people really achieve what they want to do.
Yeah, that's something else, man. That kind of, yeah. I mean, I had to go visit him because they got, like I said, I love people who are very influential, and man, he really backed up what he talked. I mean,
Yes,
he did
sir.
everything large. Everything was big with him. Go big or go home type of guy.
I'll
And
say I'll
so,
tell you I'll tell you one story of Rich since we're on the topic. Is he was known that he would go to these conventions, the fitness expos, all these conventions, and he, if you go to any of these before, and even still to this day, you meet someone like a YouTuber or a fitness personality. They're only there from X to X. We're talking about maybe a 2, 3, max 4 hour meet and greet. Not Rich. Rich will be there from from the time it opens to the past closing. I remember I was at the first expo when with his whole 5% booth, everything, and periodically throughout the day, line was huge. It was long, going around the booths all around, and it I saw it was closing all day, and then I'm like, oh man, there's still a lot of people. No, what he did, because he was gonna get fined, what he did is like he basically told everyone, hey, if you still want to meet me, we're gonna go outside, and I'll meet everyone outside. And he did that.
is that right?
He 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 wasn't one of those people where he only stayed there for 1 or 2 hours. Nope.
So he really
He was.
enjoyed meeting his fans.
Oh, he knew he wouldn't be where he was today if it wasn't for the people that supported him. And that's
Oh man,
something
that's
that
something else.
I want to take away from that. Like, if someone wants to meet me, like, I don't know what I can give you, but hey, I'll take the time to meet you. Because why Rich was like that, and that's one thing I get out of Rich. He stayed there and he met every single person,
That's
and
something
he did.
else.
It wasn't just like a, oh, hi, how are you, take a picture. No, he'll sit there and ask.
That's why it took all day. But I know what I mean. You get involved with conversations, and man, he was must have been such a huge figure when you're standing in front of him.
Yeah, so it was very cool. That's
Yeah,
a memory I'll have. I just all day I was there. I kept, man, this line is not going down. This line is not going down. And
but
when they were saying, when their operators are about to close it down, it's like, we're gonna have to fine you if you don't close. It's like, okay, he just moved the whole line outside there.
well, he's like, again, that just shows you what type of guy he is. If he's going to find a way to do it and get it done,
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
it's not going to be the conventional way, he's going to find another way to do it. He's
Yes,
always just
sir.
wondering how to get it done. And that's the type of guy, and that's the type of people you want to hang out with. Those type of people that have that type of mentality. You know what I mean? There's always got to be a way to do it. Let's get it done. So yeah, so I had to see him, and I got lucky to be able to find him like right off the bat, because he's kind of like in the middle. So it's kind of hard because there's not really any landmarks other than trees and stuff like that. So I had to
Hmm.
like try to find, and I was able to find him. But yeah, what a figure, man. What a guy he was. Said
I
he
mean,
did
I
some of
think
that.
that's why, kind of just to turn it all the way back around, I think that's why people like him and metal are something that speaks to both of us. It's because it's like, it's loud, it's out there, it's not afraid to be what they are, who they are. I mean, I'm proud to say I'm a metalhead. You know,
Yeah, there's no regret there. No.
hell no. Like,
Matter of fact, that it's almost like when I'm a metalhead, I'm thinking like I'm the one who's got it right.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm the one who's listening to cool music. At least that's my
Hmm.
thinking in my head. And I think that's how you should be as a metalhead. Go, well, I don't want a lot of people listening, right? Because it won't be cool. It's like you have your bands, and you're like, you're like, this is my little project here. You know what I mean? I don't want to get too big. I don't want because then it won't be cool anymore, right? So
They
so then there's that, But
Yeah,
yeah,
like
so
that's why I think like metal and just like people with the lifestyle, like a Dimebag and a Rich Piana, where they live their life how they want to, and they don't care. Dimebag, he did his activities and he shredded as hard as anyone. Rich lived out, crazy, spent money, had money,
yeah,
rock and roll,
like
dude.
how many people are like afraid to do that? You know what I mean? They're afraid to. I think there's too many people out there just afraid about what other people are going to think about them. Like how are people going to say it? What are people going to think about this and that? I think that's just it just depresses you. You know what I mean? It's like you're a hostage in your own body because you can't go out because you're too worried about what people say. And they look, when I go to the cemeteries, you really think about your own mortality and you're like, okay, how long do I have? Why do I care so much? If I was to go down now, when I'm going to say, well, because I worried about what this guy said, I worried about what that guy said. No, you don't want to think, you only got so much time on this earth. Just go out and do whatever you got to just handle it. Handle your business. Don't care, just believe in what you're doing. Because if you believe in what you're doing, then it's going to be right. If people don't like it, oh well, as long as you believe in it, and as long as you're not breaking the law or anything like that, and doing anything really weird, or as long as you believe in it, like this podcast, I mean, it's kind of got together. We believe in it. I mean, a lot of people probably maybe they're too shy to do it or something like that. They don't want to come up and do it because they're afraid of what people are going to think, or they don't want to be on video and all this stuff like that. I mean, like, who cares?
I mean, it's just the rock and roll, the metal lifestyle.
Just go for it, man. You're going to regret it later if you don't. Mm-hmm. Tell you that. You don't want regrets. Too many regrets is not good. So that's all I'll say about that. But had to talk about the Pantera, had to talk about Rich and Ronnie James Dio again. Talk about another. We can't not talk about Ronnie and the influence he had on metal. I mean, who doesn't know Holy Diver, Rainbow in the Dark? Those songs. I mean, he was a short guy too. He was like pretty short. What was he, like 5'4" or something, 5'5" or something? And the voice that came out of that body. I mean, immediately when he sings, it's like, whoa. When he sung and Lemmy, he was just a road dog. They just played. I mean, another musician's musician. Motorhead, huge influence on a lot of people.
Well, absolutely.
I mean, who doesn't know Motorhead? I mean, they have a lot of merch too on Motorhead. Motorhead, they seem like they sell a lot of merch, a lot of stuff.
It's a conversation for another podcast, but they have a very, very great logo. Their name, their font, especially with having just the two little dots above their name, gives it an extra.
I forgot what you call that.
I don't know.
European.
And here we are, college educated guys. I don't even know that little symbol.
Born to lose, live to win, or something like that. Is that how it goes? God, I hope I didn't get that wrong.
No, but absolutely. Let me see. Born.
Can you look that up?
On the old computer. Let's see.
I think that's right.
What are we talking about? This is Born to Lose.
Motorhead, yeah.
Born to Lose.
Live to Win.
I'm just getting Born to Lose.
I thought it was okay. Well, Motorhead is definitely a huge influenced a lot of people, but I personally didn't listen to much of Motorhead. I'll tell you that right now. I'll admit to it. I didn't listen to much of Motorhead. I had friends that listened to a lot of Motorhead, but I don't know. It's just one of those type of things that just never got around to me. So yeah, he was at NAMM too. I remember seeing him at NAMM. Many years ago, he was signing autographs. So, I mean, they got a lot of attention too. I mean, a lot of people liked him, and they were famous and they were popular. They got their due. I think they got their due. He had a big line. Him and there's a lot of people from NAMM that I saw. There's another story I can tell you, but I'll tell you in another podcast. About Deftones, at NAMM. But we'll say that for another time. You know what I mean?
All right, well, guess we'll wrap it up here, Joey. Another successful podcast, Pantera, your tour Cemetery, and speaking on Rich, Piana. Is there any final words you want to end this podcast with? Final thoughts.
I hate to say cliches, but just don't be afraid. Well, just as long as you're not breaking the law. Go out and handle business. Go do what you want. You want to have a podcast? Get a podcast going, Just do it.
And top of your head right now, what should you be listening to?
What should you be listening to? Wow, that's a tough one. I was also thinking, what's that band called? Uh, Bullets for My Valentine. I remember I was listening to. That was a really good album. I think it's called. I think it's with the side of a girl. Look up Bullets for My Valentine real quick. I think it was. What's the album called? Yeah. If I had to recommend an album, that's what's been on my mind. Every song is just killer on that album.
So I have The Poison, Screaming
No,
Fire, Fever, Temper.
No, it's the Poison. The Poison is the one, I think. What was the other one?
The Poison.
I don't.
Scream, Aim, Fire.
No, it's The Poison I was listening to, and again, like, I'm not back when I was 12 years old and I memorized every single lyric and know every single discography of every band out there. It's like at 43 years old, it's like the memory's going a little bit, So excuse me for that, but yeah, I think it's The Poison. I was thinking about that album and I was like, if you're a metal guy, take a look at that album because I think every song is just killer. And that's all I'll say about that.
All right, and for myself, I'm still for some reason on a Smashing Pumpkins kick. So anything Smashing Pumpkins, Everlasting Gaze, man, I was listening to that song and it came when I was working out, and I think it's a really great song. Came off I can't remember the album now. Let me look it up real fast.
Again, this is we don't edit any of this stuff. This is just
this is real uncut raw. Yeah,
this is real. The memories are real. The fainted memories are real. Everything is real because we want to be authentic to our viewers. We're not going to edit any of this stuff.
So
take everything with the good and the bad.
Oh yeah, so give from off their 2000 album Machina, the Machines of God. Everlasting Gaze, one of the great songs out there for any.
So you're suggesting one song? That's great. I love that. Just one song. So, all you have to, huh?
One song. If you were to listen to that album, listen to that one song, but you can listen to the whole album, give it a try.
No, I like that because you're not telling people to listen to an album, invest their whole time on an album, right? That's a lot, right? Like I just did. Just listen to one song, right? If you're going to do anything in life, just give up 3 or 5 minutes of your time to listen to one song.
Yeah, 4 minutes. 4 minutes, all you need. Everlasting Gaze.
4 minutes is all you need. That's all he's asking for. So go for it. But that'll be it.
This is it. So
until next time.
Yep. For Speak of the Madman podcast, I'm Joshua. This is Joey. We're out.